Today we're going to be debunking common scholarship essay topics. One of the biggest misconceptions that I hear from a lot of my personal consulting clients and my followers is that they won't be able to answer all of the difficult questions that a scholarship asks. When in reality, the big secret is that these scholarships tend to ask more or less the same questions on the applications. There's nothing wrong with reusing your old essays to secure new money. And when we're talking about reusing your old essays, this also applies to reusing your college essays and your college supplements to apply for scholarships. Of course, you have to tweak it and make sure that it appeals to donor values, but the proof is in the pudding. The same supplemental essay that got me into Stanford also won me a $2,500 scholarship that was awarded to me. As long as you work on telling your story to the best of your abilities the first time, it's nothing to go back and tweak a few sentences so that you can resubmit the same essay for a new opportunity. You want to work smarter, not harder. The first scholarship essay question that most of these foundations end up asking is what I like to call the why you question. This question generally asks you about who you are, what your interests are, and why you feel like you deserve the scholarship. When the real question is, why not you? This is your chance to show them exactly why you deserve this scholarship. Scholarships ask this question to gain more insight into how this money will help you specifically to achieve your goals, dreams, and aspirations. Be sure to let them know about your career goals and any relevant passion projects that you may be doing so that they'll know that they'll get a return on their investment in you if they do choose you as a scholarship winner. In these questions, you want to make sure that you demonstrate what you've already done to pursue your goals. You really want to make sure that you explicitly state how winning this scholarship will revolutionize those steps that you're already taking. They want to invest in students who have the promise but just may not necessarily have the capital to be able to pursue education or pursue whatever dreams that they have. So whenever they ask the why you question, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to gloat without being too overbearing, but really show them why you're special. Show them all the amazing things that you have going for yourself, but keep in mind the specific scholarship that you're applying to. If you're applying to a scholarship foundation who is really passionate about dogs, you may not necessarily want to talk about, I don't know, like how much you love planting or how much you love driving cars. You may want to tweak whichever activities that you talk about to make sure that you're encompassing elements that show that you're very nurturing, or you may want to mention that you have your own dogs yourself. You get the gist. The next scholarship question that these foundations and donors always ask is about your goals. Where do you see yourself X years in the future? How do you plan to get there? Who and what inspired you to have these goals in the first place? Be sure to convey to the donors that their money is in good hands by investing in your dreams. The beautiful thing about these scholarship essays is that a lot of the time, or at least most of the time, the answers that you give do not necessarily dictate what you have to do with the rest of your life. It isn't until you get deeper into college where whatever you write in your scholarship essays, if you're applying for like graduate school, scholarships and grants, that will actually matter, because you're usually applying for scholarships to do a certain thing in a certain sector, like say public service or business or nonprofits. But now they know that you're a high school student. They know that you're early in your career and you're probably going to be fickle and change your mind. All they want to see is that you have more or less a vision for yourself and where you want to be in the next couple of years. And this vision is in alignment with the things that you're already doing, the interests that you already have, and the fact that you're being so proactive now by applying to this scholarship because you really want to achieve those dreams. Like in my scholarship essay, which I actually won quite a lot of money with, I talked about how I wanted to be a forensic accountant. I don't want to be a forensic accountant today, but at that point in time, I really did. So just write about what's true to you at this point in your life and don't pressure yourself to have it all figured out. Another major question that scholarships love to ask about is failure. In fact, I asked about a significant failure in people's lives in my own scholarship, which was the Gabriella Failure Doesn't Define Me scholarship. And this is a beautiful example because I have also applied to scholarships which have asked me about failures, but I have been the person on the receiving end where I was reading scholarship applications about failure. The number one thing that I was looking for was growth. I wanted to see how you overcame a challenge, how you overcame a setback, and how this has impacted you and made you better, helped you to evolve. And what lessons did you learn from this, and how are you employing that lesson every day so that you don't let that failure define you, but instead you let it redirect you and become a better and bigger person. They want to see that you've matured and persevered through your mistakes, because disappointment is inevitable in this life. We know that you're already successful. We know that you have all these amazing things going for yourself, but this is a moment for you to show true vulnerability while also playing into your strengths, because you show, okay, this is a time that everything didn't necessarily work out for me, but I didn't cry about it. I didn't sulk about it. Instead, I took it with a grain of salt, and now I'm bigger and better. So while I was combing through the 2,100 applications that I received, I was specifically looking to see how people adjusted from this little setback that their failure proposed. So you want to make sure that you are really hammering home how you have a strong propensity for growth and how you're a resilient person. Scholarships also love to ask you questions about perseverance. It's really common for applications to ask you to discuss a time in which you had to overcome a certain obstacle, which is more or less very similar to the previous question that we were talking about. With this question in particular, they want to know how you were able to push through a difficult situation. Think about what changes were required for you to get over this obstacle. Why was this an obstacle to you in the first place? That is a really important part of the question that you need to answer. So a lot of people don't. They just talk about it being an obstacle and move on. But you need to show why it was an obstacle for you specifically. Most importantly, you need to talk about what you learned from this experience and how it has impacted you for the rest of your life. All in all, the main takeaway is that a lot of these scholarships ask the same questions. Be sure to keep a file with all of the essays that you've written before for college and scholarships, because you can certainly reuse them and tweak them so that you don't have to consistently reinvent the wheel. Be mindful about obstacles that you've overcome and failures that you've had, but also think about the future and what visions you have for yourself, because this is what the donors want to know so that they can know you're deserving of the money that they're looking to give away.